Come on in, come on in. It's time for the top 10 at 10. Welcome to tonight's broadcast. You know how we do in true fashion. As you come in, go ahead and introduce yourself. Let me know that you are here. If you're watching this on replay, thank you for tuning in on the replay. And either way you're watching, make sure you press that share button so that other people on your timeline and in your news feed will be able to get the information that we're talking about tonight. Because top 10 at 10, you know, we give you the updates and tips and tricks on ways to stay healthy. My name is Nikedra Brown and I am the nurse practitioner with Zing Life Services, and we give you ways to improve and maintain your health. So while we're at it, let's go ahead and talk about the mission of Zing Life Services, which is to improve the quality of life within the community. Basic health skills, self-promotion and wellness, and self-esteem development are the hallmarks of our organization's programs and projects. And we try to do projects that improve the disparities and the minority population as it relates to health. So, hello, as you come in. Let me get my notes for tonight. So tell me what you all did for holiday weekend. For those of you who were on vacation, for those of you who worked, like myself, what did you enjoy this past weekend and for the 4th of July holiday? So go ahead and shout those out. I have an extension of what we talked about last week, which was eyewear and sun protection. So someone made me aware. So I was talking to one of our frequent viewers in the top 10 at 10, Ty, and she was talking about the conversation that we had as it relates to eyewear and sun protection and why you need to shade your eyes. And hey, Vanessa, thanks for tuning in. You got some R&R over the weekend. I love it. So we were talking, Ty and I were talking about people wearing sunshades and sunglasses and eye protection. And she said something that I thought was so instrumental. So she said, not only do we wear shades to protect ourselves from the sun, but we also have to wear sunshades sometimes to protect ourselves from people. We have to wear shades sometimes to protect ourselves from people who are constantly throwing shade, from people who are constantly hating, if you will, on what we are doing, on what we are trying to, our goals. And so do you think that? Do you think that sometimes we have to wear shades, be it invisible or be it actual visual shades, just to hide sometimes the reaction that we give other people with different things that they say? Sometimes you just listen at the things that people say, and you just think about the things that people do. And if you speak through your eyes like I do, sometimes your eyes can really tell the story, right? And so I have really big eyes, if you haven't can tell. And so sometimes my eyes say things that my mouth doesn't always say. And so sometimes you have to wear glasses, sunglasses, protective eyewear to help protect yourself from saying things with your eyes to other people, from people who mean you harm, from people who throw shade, from people who are fair weather friends. So that's one of the topics in the top 10 at 10. How many of you have people who you know are fair weather friends? So there are these people who are kind of cloudy on some days and they're sunny on other days, and you don't always know how to take them, right? And so those are people who are going to be fair weather friends, because sometimes you're going to have to wear your protective eyewear. Now, we might have something else that's our protective eyewear, but we have to wear things that will protect us from those fair weather friends. And so sometimes we have to put on our face shield. Sometimes we have to put on our sunshades. Sometimes we have to put on things to protect us from people who are considered our fair weather friends, or from those people who are throwing shade. And so Vanessa's saying, yes, you talk with your whole face. Absolutely. So how many of you do the same thing? You know, your face can actually tell the story. Your eyes have it. You can tell if you're happy, if you're sad, if you are just in amazement, if your eyes are able to tell the story. So sometimes you have to wear sunshades to protect yourself from the shade that other people are throwing at you, the shade that other people are saying about you, the things that you hear people saying or not hear them saying. You have to protect yourself with your protective eyewear from those people who are fair weather friends. You don't know how to take them. Some moments they're happy, some moments they're sad, some moments they're happy for you, other moments they kind of are just like on the shady side. So 3 things I'm going to give you before we move into our food topic for tonight. 3 ways you're going to deal with those fair weather people. First of all, you are going to examine yourself. So we already said that your eyes may have it, that your eyes may tell the story. So when you have opportunity, the very first thing you should do is examine yourself. If your eyes are telling the story, if you don't know if somebody, are they really saying something that's shady? Did they really mean that? Are they talking to me? These are all the things that probably go on in your head, all the conversations that you probably have with yourself when somebody says something that's a little bit off kilter. So number 1, first examine yourself. Examine yourself and see if in fact you deserve the shade that was thrown to you, because sometimes, let's face it, you actually do. Sometimes you do deserve the shade that is being thrown to you. But now if you examine yourself, and it doesn't take long to do it, it just takes a few seconds, ask yourself, is she talking to me? Is this what I deserve? Ask yourself if this is what you deserve, right? And so if you examine yourself, number 1, number 2, you are going to want to stand for what's right. So sometimes people throw you shade balls because you are standing in truth. Sometimes you are telling them things that is really true. You are standing behind things that is right. You are standing behind things that are honorable. And instead of harping on that truth bandwagon, they throw you a curveball of shade because they can't handle the truth. So number 2, if you are dealing with these shady people, you have to make sure that you are standing in truth. So after you examine yourself and say, self, is this what I deserve? Then you say, wait a minute, am I standing in truth? Because sometimes, let's face it, we give people the truth and what? They can't handle it. And then Vanessa, you say, depart from you. Super funny. So you have to ask yourself, are you standing in truth? Are you telling them something that they may have asked for, but they really don't want to hear? Because, everybody don't really want to hear the truth. So sometimes they ask for the truth, but they don't want to hear it. So is that what you're doing? Is that why they're throwing you those balls of shade? Is that why you need to protect yourself with your eyewear? Because they can't handle the truth? And after you've done that, number 3, you might want to acknowledge the behavior. You might want to call them out on it. You might want to disengage. As Vanessa said, depart from me. I know you're not, right? So sometimes you might want to call them out on the behavior. Say, look, I thought about this thing and this is the truth. If you have something that's factual that will back up your truth, then you can bring that out. I always say, the truth doesn't need to be defended because the truth will stand on its own when everything else falls. So you can defend if you want, or you can choose to disengage. So those are the 3 things you're going to want to do if somebody starts to throw you a curveball of shade. If someone is a fair weather friend and you really just trying to feel them out. If you really just want to see, hey, what is going on? So you want to make sure that you examine yourself. You want to make sure that you're standing for what's right. And you want to make sure that you acknowledge the behavior, or you might disengage. Good night, Vanessa. All right, so what do you do to protect yourself from those people who are shady? So what do you do? What do you do to protect yourself? If you're watching this on replay, don't forget to press #replay. I know many of you do, just as Vanessa has just done. It's super late for some people, 10 o'clock at night. So if you're watching me on replay, make sure you press #replay. And for those of you who tune back in, my name is Nikita Brown. And so we are talking tonight about shady people, fair weather friends. And we're going to go into this conversation about food because many of you were eating it up, barbecuing it up, grilling it up, chilling and grilling over the weekend and the 4th of July holiday. So we want to make sure that as you continue this summer season that you get some food tips to make you stay healthy, to keep you out of the emergency room, and to keep your tummy in the right path. All right, so what do you do with all those people who start throwing you shade balls, who start throwing you curve balls and try to question whether or not you are actually standing in truth? You might want to just grind that up. You might want to just twist it up a little bit. You might want to say, hey, if you are really a fair weather friend, should I really just stay and just continue to be a fair weather friend, or should I go and try to find a new group of friends, right? So we're talking about last week, a continuation of our conversation with sunwear, eyewear, protection from the shade. An interesting conversation I had over the weekend with one of our viewers, Ty, who's usually in the room with us. She talked about shade as it relates to people. And so I thought about it and said, oh my gosh, how coincidental. We wear shades, we wear eyewear. People walk around with sunshades on all the time in the inside. There's no sun inside. People wear shade to protect themselves from what? Other people. They wear shades to protect themselves from the things that other people sometimes say. If they talk with their eyes like I do, they wear sunshades to protect themselves from those curveballs of hate, from all the things that people can do and say that really can upset you, that can really get beside you, that can really affect you. So I gave you 3 things that you need to do if you find that people are really fair weather friends. If they are really shady on some day, cloudy on other days, sunny or happy on other days, what do you do with these people? First, you want to make sure that you examine yourself, because sometimes self is the problem. You want to examine yourself first, because if you are the problem, you got to check yourself on that behavior, because they might be right. Secondly, you want to make sure that you are standing in truth. And third, you want to make sure that you either disengage or you call them out on it. You be the judge of that. So that's the first half of the broadcast. Now let's move into our health topic. And it's going to talk about food, because you all have been eating it up over this 4th of July and over this holiday weekend. So let's talk about, actually really quickly, hamburger versus ground beef. How many of you know the difference? If you have a hamburger, is it really hamburger meat or is it ground beef? What does that mean when you go to the store? Some people don't eat beef and you're not in this conversation. Some people don't really care as long as it is beef. They don't care. So what is going to be the difference between your hamburger and your ground burger? While you are thinking about that, if you're tuning in live, say hello so that I can welcome you to the broadcast officially if you want to. If not, then just hang on out. We're going to have this conversation about food. And if you're watching on replay, make sure you press #replay so that I can see and acknowledge you on the replay as well. Now, we gave a call out today for brand ambassadors. So if you want to be a brand ambassador, we are getting ready to have something super exciting that's going to launch. So we want to make sure we get all the people on board who are going to be able to help. And I see one of our ambassadors join into the conversation. You must have heard me talking about you, Candace. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the room. So she is going to be a brand ambassador, y'all. Give it up for Candace. She is super excited to help us get this mission out, to empower and to let people know that there are ways to get and stay healthy. I appreciate you hopping on with us, Candace, and for being an ambassador. I have some super exciting stuff that I need to talk to y'all about, and some things that we are going to move forward with in the coming months. So if anybody else wants to, you can go to bit.ly/ZingBrandIam. That's bit.ly/ZingBrandIam. There is no cost to be an ambassador, because you are actually helping us. We are hopeful and just very happy that people want to get this word out to the people in the community who it matters most to. So we are talking tonight second half of the conversation. If you missed the first half, you're going to have to go and watch it because it talks about how we can protect ourselves from the shady people or the fair weather people that's in our lives. Can you believe it? There are shady people in our lives. There are shady people in your life. There are people who are fair weather people. People who say that they want you to do well. People who say that they want the best for you until you actually move in that direction, right? And sometimes they can't handle you moving in that direction. So what happens to those people? Sometimes they're fair weather. They're shady on one day. They're happy on the next day. They seem to like it when things aren't going well for you. They seem to be around and want to know what's always going on with you and yours. Those are people that you're going to say are fair weather people. So take a look at the first half of the broadcast because I gave you some things you need to do to protect yourselves from these people, all right? So let's talk about this ground beef and this hamburger. What's the difference? What's the difference between ground beef? What's the difference between hamburger? They both make a good cheeseburger. They're both in the store. They are both able to be put on the grill and put cheese on it. And so we're going to talk about that for just a few minutes. So beef. All right, so hamburger. Hamburger has some fat added to it, okay? So you go to the store, and I don't remember seeing this in many years, but maybe I've just opened my eyes. You know how sometimes you are awakened and you open your eyes and you're actually able to see things. There are all these types of hamburgers, all these types of ground beef, 70-30, 80-20, all this type. So what you want to know is that beef fat may be added to hamburger. All right, so we know what fat is, right? Everybody knows what fat is. And fat is going to be the thing that you want to try to stay away from if you are trying to maintain your weight. Fat is that stuff that blocks up your arteries, so that's going to elevate your cholesterol. It's going to make your blood pressure go up some. It's going to not do well for your liver if you are trying to control your diabetes, all right? So I'm not saying that ground beef doesn't have any fat, but what I'm saying is if you have the choice and you're looking hamburger, ground beef, ground sirloin, you want to get the purest cuts with the least amount of fats because you want to decrease the fats so that you can decrease all of that extra in your arteries. So if you've ever gotten some of those lean cuts, if you've ever gotten some of that ground beef that's like 90-10 maybe, then you know that once you fry it up, it's like this big. Why? Because it doesn't have any fat, right? It has very little fat, okay? So once you fry it and it's about this big, you're probably like, what happened to all my meat? That's not enough to feed me and the kids and the husband and everybody that's coming over. So from that, you probably learned, I'm not going to buy that one anymore. But there's a reason why I did that. Because that hamburger is going to have more fat. That fat is going to bind. And so it's going to make you seem like you have more. So ground beef is made from less tender cuts and the less popular cuts. So that's why they can grind it up and there still be some other cuts available. So you want to make sure that you are cooking your meat thoroughly. And Candace is on here. Candace is a food expert. People want to make sure that they cook their meat thoroughly, right? So I don't like bloody burgers. I say it all the time. I don't want anything that is not done because we want to make sure that we are cooking our meat right. So grinding tenderizes the meat and it reduces the fat. So sometimes you also might find that if you have a meat that's of less fat quality, it may seem very coarse. It may also seem dry because it doesn't have a lot of fat, right? So it's not unusual that you will find those cuts of meat being a little more coarse and maybe a little drier to your liking because it has less fat content. And I love it. Yes, 80-20 is the most common leanest meat in most grocery stores. I love it, love it, love it. And 155 degrees internal temperature is a well done burger. I love it, Candace, because I did not know that. So I was going to say you need a thermometer, you need a food thermometer to be able to check the temperature. And it's good when we can share ideas. That's why y'all should come on in the room. Candace tell us 155 degrees is what we need that thermometer set on. So it's one thing to have a thermometer, just like when people have thermometers and they check their kids and see if they have temperatures. They can have it all they want to, but if they don't know what a fever is, then what good is it? Then they might as well use the old hand over forehead method. So if you have your food thermometer, 155 degrees internal temperature is what you should have your burger. Make sure your burger is registering. I do not like bloody burgers, y'all. I don't like them. Do not like them. And so you should make sure that your burger is well done. Why? Because it's hot outside. Why? Because it harbors bacteria. Why? Because you'll end up in the ER with some gut-related illness because you did not cook well on the grill. So if you're cooking on the grill, make sure you're getting your hamburgers. Make sure you're getting those lean cuts of meat. Even though you may have to buy more, you want to make sure if you're going to eat it, that you are at least eating it with the less fat content. All right? So that's your hamburger. Let's go to your hot dogs, because hot dogs are plentiful this time of year. Now, I am a hot dog lover, actually, and it is not the best for you. I do know that, but we all have a vice, and I love a good hot dog. And so what kind of hot dogs do y'all like? Because there are all different types. People like Ballparks, Frosty Mon, Nathan's. What else is it? What kind of hot dogs do y'all like? What do you buy? Whatever is on sale? What did you buy? I'm also a stickler for the hot dogs with the 8 count, because your buns come in 8 count. And no, I'm not OCD, but I don't like to mess up my bun count. So I get the 8 count of hot dogs with my 8 count bun. I like Ballpark, y'all. I'm a Ballpark girl. A Ballpark hot dog and a Ballpark bun. So Gwaltney, yes, I forgot that one, Candace. So yes, there are all types of hot dogs, and you can feel it on the forehead and its firmness to tell if it's done. You talk about that hamburger, right? So yes, people will do that. People will actually slice the middle, see if it's a little pink. Whatever you need to do, just make sure it is done. Nathan's, when you're splurging, absolutely. And Ballparks were 99 cents. They've been 99 cents twice now at Harris Teeter. And so that was a super good deal for me, because you can put hot dogs in the freezer. What I've learned is if you put hot dogs in the freezer, they actually are good for 1 to 2 months in the freezer. So if you're going to freeze them, don't freeze them longer than 1 to 2 months to get your best quality out of them. But you can get beef hot dogs, turkey hot dogs, pork hot dogs, chicken hot dogs, or a combination. So you know a hot dog is a grind up of pretty much everything that's left. So, you know, the quality and the health aspect of it is out the window because it is loaded with sodium. Yes, it is. But if you're at a cookout and if you are enjoying yourself for the 4th of July weekend and for your holidays, I tell everybody, give yourself a splurge. And yes, Candace, 99 cents. You could get 4 packs, and you know they are upwards of typically about $3 per pack. And so yes, they were 99 cents. I'll have to make a disclaimer and announcement if they should go back on sale again, because you know that I enjoyed that. So yes, you can get chicken, you can get beef, you can get combinations. I like the beef, so I like the beef Ballparks. And again, I like the the Ballpark buns. But the label must tell you what is included. So if you have a question about, is this beef, is this pork, is this chicken, what is it? Your label should tell you. And if it's a combination, it will tell you beef, pork, chicken, all of them. So if you just want beef, then you want to make sure that they say beef. Beef Master, I like Beef Masters too. Y'all, I like a hot dog. I must say that has to be one of my vices. So a lot of people say chocolate is their vice and dessert is their vice. I like a good hot dog. All right, so if you haven't already, make sure you share this video so I can find out if other people have such an affinity for hot dogs as do I. What do you like on your hot dogs? There's so many toppings. Oh my gosh. So many toppings that you can put on your hot dogs. And yes, they should not stay in your freezer for more than 1 to 2 months, because you want to make sure that you are getting your highest quality. That hot dog is actually encased. And so you want to make sure that you are eating that within the 1 to 2 months. The encasement, the meat of a hot dog, really isn't the best, right? Because it's just a combination of all the other stuff that's left. Yes, I know that. So it's a combination of all the other stuff that's left, and they kind of squish it together and make multiple products, but one of them is a hot dog. And so burnt hot dogs are best from the grill. Yes, but you probably mess up the bun count, Candace. You probably one of those people who get the hot dog and eat it and mess up the bun count. And you have like 6,000 buns left at the end of the cookout and just one hot dog because you've taken those hot dogs straight off the grill and eating them. That brings me to my next point though, because people will get their hot dog off the grill and they will hand one over to a child. So should they be handing this over to a child? Tell me if your children are eating hot dogs. Tell me if your children are eating hot dogs so I can go ahead and tap you on the back of the hand. I was already testing foreheads. I'm going to tap you on the back of the hand. Go ahead and confess and tell me if your children under 4, I'm going to give you a pass if they're over 4, but tell me if your children over 4, if they are eating hot dogs. Why you let me know what you like on your hot dog. I see we have ketchup, mustard, chili on your hot dogs. For those of you who are from Eastern North Carolina, you know there is a world famous Bill's hot dog establishment there. And so they come with mustard, chili, and onions only. And so yes, hot dogs are by and large one of the things that we have our fair share of in Eastern North Carolina. Bill's hot dogs, if anybody watching is familiar, shout out to Bill's hot dogs. And yes, I'm going to go ahead and get you, Candace, because you should. You're not the only one. You're not the only one. Giving your kids hot dogs. You pull them off the grill. You put them in your aluminum pan. Y'all know how we do. We pull back the foil. Kid says, Mommy, I want a hot dog. And so you wrap one up in paper towel and you do what? You give it to them. Go ahead and confess. I know Candace is not the only one. If you're here on replay, go ahead and press hashtag replay and confess about giving your kids a hot dog. If you're joining me live, hello for coming into the room. Let me know what you like on your hot dogs. I actually like most everything on my hot dog, except I'm not a sauerkraut lover, and I'm really not a chili lover either. But I like most everything else on my hot dog, and so it ends up being a beef master ballpark super bun, mustard, ketchup, onions, cheese, and relish. Yes. Love a good hot dog. So let me know what y'all like on your hot dogs. While you are telling me that, one more plug for our ambassador group. Candace is in the room. She is going to be one of the ambassadors that is going to help us bring forth the mission of Zing Life Services. We are going to have a super duper announcement fairly soon. Going to have a big and exciting event in North Carolina. So I'm excited to get with the ambassadors on this in Eastern North Carolina so we can help try to improve and maintain the level of health for the people who live there. I have lots and lots of people, family and friends who are still there, and know you are not forgotten. So we are going to do lots of what we can to help you all stay healthy, to help you get on this road to health. So hot dogs. Hot dogs should stay in your freezer for 1 to 2 months. Similarly, they should stay on your counter for 1 to 2 hours. So if these hot dogs are sitting out on your counter, and if they are sitting out on your grill, I can't even get it out. If they're on your grill out in the heat for more than 1 hour, you are increasing your risk for getting some bacteria, some infection in your gut. I keep talking about it because it's real. I've already had several calls this week about little kids with diarrhea, little kids that are throwing up, grown people who are nauseous. They have gotten food that was left out too long. They probably have gotten food that was not cooked to the correct temperature. Hot dogs are pre-cooked. They are already fully cooked. But you do have to heat them to a certain temperature again, all right? You have to increase them to a certain temperature. So they should not be left out for more than 2 hours. More than 2 hours. They should not be left out for more than 2 hours. That's why, just me personally, if I'm out and about, I typically will not buy a hot dog from a stand or somewhere, because I don't know how long it's been out. I'm real funny about my meat like that, because I've seen too many people who have gotten stomach bugs, who've gotten bacteria infections in their gut. So more than 2 hours should not be out. Shouldn't be out on your countertop. Shouldn't be just waiting for a snack. And more than 1 hour if you are outside. So if you're outside on your grill, you take that hot dog off the grill and you put it in that pan, that aluminum foil. It shouldn't be out there for more than an hour because it increases the risk. It's 90 degrees outside. 90 degrees, and it just came off of the grill. And so you're increasing the risk for somebody to get sick. Hot dogs are fully cooked, but there is a bacteria. There's a bacteria that can harbor, and it's found in ready-to-eat meat. So if you have ever been pregnant, and many of you have, self-included, they tell you when you're pregnant, don't eat hot dogs, don't eat sandwich meat, because you can get this bacteria in your gut, and it can be harmful to your baby, right? It can cause some miscarriages. It has been linked to miscarriages. It can stay in your system, and you actually be sick for up to 3 weeks. And so that's why it's important, if you know women who are pregnant, if you're pregnant, when they tell you that you should when they tell you not to eat hot dogs, lunch meat, there's a number of things. They're telling you that for a reason. And yes, old school, yes, Candace, old school does take them straight from the fridge. I have witnessed that myself. I've witnessed it myself. I've probably actually done it myself too. But now I am tried and true on making sure I get my hot dog about this big right now. So yes, that bacteria, it can stay in your gut for about or up to 3 weeks. Most of the time it manifests before that, but we're talking about in extreme cases, women who are pregnant. So we want to make sure that we are protecting those ladies who are pregnant, because it can lead to some miscarriages. So I wanted to make sure that we got to that. Now, let me also hit on these children and these hot dogs. While I have to tap your hands, children under 4 should not be eating hot dogs. If you eat the hot dogs, you get a semi-pass if you cut the casing off of it. But you do recognize the size of a hot dog. So there are several different sizes. I saw Nathan's mentioned, I saw Waltney mentioned, heard ballpark from myself. Think about the size of these hot dogs when you cook them. And think about the size of your toddler, of your 4-year-old's throat, right? It's probably about the same size. So when they take a bite of this hot dog and then something comes on TV or somebody starts talking to them and they start talking, what happens to the hot dog? They swallow it. And when they swallow it, it is just the right size to get caught into their throat. And that, my friends, is the #1 cause of choking for children under the age of 3. Hot dogs. Hot dogs, #1 cause of choking for children under the age of 3. Second is hard candy. So you want to make sure that you take the hot dog. If this is your hot dog, you want to cut it lengthwise. You want to make sure you cut it lengthwise and you can give it to them. So by cutting it lengthwise, you are decreasing the diameter of the hot dog so that if they take a bite of it, it does not get caught into their airway. So when these kids start to choke, examine yourself, right? When they start to choke, examine yourself. Do you know what to do to help these kids if and when they should start choking? You know where I'm going to this, because you know what we do. So we teach and we train CPR. We tell you what to do when people start choking, especially children. Can you do CPR? Can you do abdominal thrust in a child? Oh, absolutely, because we have to get that hot dog up and out of their airway somehow. So if you examine yourself and you realize, oh my gosh, I give my child hot dogs, I have never thought about the fact that they might choke and what is going to happen if they do choke, and you recognize that you don't know what to do if they start choking, you need to let us know so you can make sure that you get into one of our CPR classes where we teach and train you not only what to do in case of cardiac emergencies, but what to do if a child or an adult starts choking. So choking, hot dogs, #1 cause of choking for children under 3. Next is going to be your hard candy. So note to self, no hard candy, no hot dogs that are not cut lengthwise in your children. All right, so it is that time. Great conversation, y'all, about hot dogs. If you missed the first half, go ahead and listen to the shade conversation, because I know there's some people who are getting some shade thrown at them, and what you need to do is just put on your eyeglasses, put on your sunshades, and keep it moving, baby. Keep it moving. And on that note, I am going to see you back here tomorrow night. It is going to be another night of the Top 10 at 10. Make sure if you want to be an ambassador, you click on the link, and make sure that you are tuned in with us tomorrow night. Y'all have a good one. Thanks for the conversation. Bye.